Good evening, and welcome to Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform. I am your host, Miss K, and as usual, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the brothers and sisters that are not with us anymore, for all those that are sick and suffering, and for those that do keep coming back. So again, welcome to Manic Mondays with Miss K. I am your host, Miss K, and we are here every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. But due to the Jewish holiday, I decided to reschedule. That way I could have a bigger audience. So this is a platform where parents, surrogate parents, uh, I want to say foster parents, grandparents, guardians, and any other parental figure that is outlined within the court system in your state to tell their maniacal story about their corrupted walk with children's services. And I did get a little bit of advice from a friend of mine. So I just want to shout out Miss Sunshine. Don't worry about it. I got you. So she wanted to remind parents that the fight is never over. No matter how long it takes to get your innocence home, it is well worth the fight. Like I said before, innocence is worth it, parents. Never stop fighting. The journey is long. The journey is exhausting. The journey is maniacal in itself. And just with things going on in the world, period. The way these agencies traffic these children for a greenback is insane. And although, parents, we make mistakes, but like I say all the time, there is no bad way to parent. There are only unsafe ways to parent. And at the end of the day, each culture, each race, each background is very different, ethnicities and cultures included. And, just with my case, let me give you guys a little bit of an update. So, this is my fourth case, but this is the first case that it is not about substance abuse, it is about mental impairment. CPS is trying to say because I am diagnosed with a mental illness that makes me unable to parent safely and healthy. That is a total crock of bull. So, most of y'all that know me know how I feel about my children and how I feel about children, period. I treat every child as though they were my own. And I don't penalize children for adult actions or, the tension between myself and another parent, depending on what the situation was. So now let me back up a little bit. Like I said, this is my fourth case. The allegation for this case, to my knowledge, is mental impairment. But in all actuality, that's maniacal in itself because I am the legal authorized consent giver for my children's educational needs, for their medical and therapeutic needs, and for their religious and I thought financial needs. But for some reason, the agency that my children are with and the foster parent that they are with seems to think that, they have their own set of rules or their own policies that I guess negate what orders the judge put forth or what things were suggested or requested in the best interest of my children as far as reunifying and returning to parent. So as you know, I was found guilty of negligence for the fact finding trial based on me having a mental illness, and they feel like I am not well aware of it or I do not have good insight, which is totally wrong. My children have been gone for 974 days. I have not seen or talked to them since April 23rd of 2024. And my children live 10 minutes away. So, I want to break down each right that this foster care agency, HeartShare St. Vincent Services in Brooklyn, and its case planning team and its foster parent. I want to break down each section where violations of my civil liberties and my parental rights have just been discarded and dismissed like I don't matter. These people consistently say I am causing trauma. I am throwing a temper tantrum because I'm not getting my way. Or these people are not taking the certified and confirmed information about my children or the concerns about my children that I may have that they are neglecting to acknowledge. So let's start with education. As most people know, my mom is an educator. She's a doctor of education, to be exact. So education was stressed in my household growing up. And that is the one thing that that's not the only thing, but that is the major thing that I am grateful for when it comes to morals and values that we teach our children. The value of education that my mother has given me and continues to give me now that we are speaking. So that's a plus. I could smile about that because that was a much needed conversation, but we'll put a pin in that. But as far as education, I am one of those very involved parents, one of those parents that sit on many committees within the DOE, such as the Title I committee, the SLT, which is the Student Leadership Team, the PTA, which is the Parent Teachers Association, and the CPEP committee, where, as a parent in a district, you sit on the assembly with the other, people that are on the board in reference to DOE and allocated funds. So for someone as an educator or part of the faculty that works within these educational institutions, for someone to tell me that they got an instruction from a higher up and stated, and I quote, you cannot have access to your child's portal, the school portal, because the child does not reside with you, end quote. So I know I just said I'm a very involved parent. So that statement felt like a blatant slap in the face because all 621 pages of the chancellor's rules and regulations for New York City DOE K through 12 schools in New York, I know that manual like the back of my hand. And I also have a photographic memory, which is a blessing and a curse all in itself. So let me back, that statement up just a little bit. I've always had access to my children's portals. Always. When my children were in the district prior to the one my 12-year-old has went to based on her graduating from the 5th grade, there are two separate districts now. There's District 18 and then there's District 19. In District 18, we have the regional leader for the school that my 10-year-old attends, Mr. Rashim O'Connor. I've had several conversations with him regarding the dismissal of my concerns when my child does not have the things she needs when it's in reference to her, IEP, which is her individual education plan, or her BIP, which is the behavior intervention plan. I am supposed to be aware of all amendments, all changes, all additions, or if my child is reaching or meeting her goal expectation. As far as my 12-year-old, she has the same IEP and BIP. I mean, with just different goals, but the same plans apply. Now, based on my children having special needs, there are certain, I want to say, I guess, appendixes that associate special needs children with certain, I guess, luxuries or privileges that maybe, mainstream children do not have. So, based on me also being a special needs advocate for children, it is very hurtful that these people would infringe on my educational rights based on something they did neglectfully and possibly detrimental had it been another such another situation. So again, I've had access to both my children's portals when they were in District 18. And while in District 18, June of 2023, I reached out to the school in District 18 that my children were attending, both of them at the same time, to let these people know that they have disclosed sensitive information about the foster parent on the portal. But yet that did not restrict my access. They fixed their mistake that could have possibly been detrimental based on this so-called mental impairment that they claim I have, allegedly. If I was that mentally impaired, I would not be talking to you right now. I'd probably be in a 5x7. But I'm not my old self these days. I have learned how to take things with a grain of salt and accommodate humility and humbleness with all of my core. So now we're going to skip forward a little bit. My child has graduated. Now she's in the 6th grade in District 19. And the regional leader for District 19 is Shani Jimeta. Spoke to this woman last year when my child, first attended as a new 6th grader. Now, before I even express the negligence of this school, because I had no actual selection, communication, or collateral with picking my 12-year-old's junior high school, the foster parent, who is a representative of this foster care agency, Heartshare St. Vincent Services in Brooklyn, and the case planning team within, decided that she would be able to register my child. Parents, no foster parent or foster care agency, CPS, or any of its entities can actually do anything when it comes to your child's education if your rights are intact, and mine are. So, there are certain rights that we have as parents that, that pertain to education, medical, therapeutic, and religious and finances. So again, back to the education. These people decided on August 26th of last year, when I received an email inviting me to new 6th graders orientation. Myself and my husband attended this orientation where this parent coordinator, Tamika Singleton, and the assistant principals, Miss Meertens and Miss Mia Williamson of this junior high school in Brooklyn in District 19, thought I had so much valuable information that I was actually nominated for another DOE job. But because I am fully transparent, I expressed to Miss Williamson that I would not be able to accept that position based on me not being able to clear the security clearance because of this case right now that is declared indicated. And although I could not get paid to provide these services because of the nomination, I was still willing to come in and volunteer the next day. So myself and my husband came in that following day and we made welcome packets for the parent coordinator, Miss Singleton. And, we were there at 9 in the morning. And once we left to get lunch, we came back. My child and some other children were in the auditorium. I followed the court order and I did not communicate with my child. I did not really give her eye contact. And I tried to, basically be invisible. She didn't like that. She decided to make a scene. And before something bad went worse, I myself removed myself and told my husband to just, take it with a grain of salt. So now we're moving forward from August of that orientation up until November 4th of last year. I had access to both of my children's school portals until I reached out to my 12-year-old's school to let them know that they too have put sensitive information about the foster parent on this portal. They had also put my ex-husband, who has a full order protection with my 12-year-old, myself, and at that time, my 10-year-old, and yet should have never been put on that portal. One, because he is not her biological father, and two, because there was an order of protection that was active, because District 18 had it already at my 10-year-old school. So they were well aware. And like I said, I expressed everything that was going on that Friday after the welcome packets were made to let them know that there is an indicated case and there's an active order of protection for my ex-husband. So now, the very next day, which was November 5th of last year, my access became denied. And Miss Herman, who was the principal for my 12-year-old's school, stated to me the reason for my denial was because there was sensitive information about the foster parent's whereabouts. Like I've said before, this foster parent is not a stranger, but she's not my friend. And she's in the way. So my whole problem to that is when those things were disclosed in the last district, and I still had access up until my 12-year-old's junior high school was found neglectful and possibly, again, put something out there that could have been detrimental had my mental capacity allegedly been the way that they were stating on the report. So now we're moving forward. They're allowing me to have access to my 12-year-old's attendance, overall progress, and, report cards. But I still have access to my child's school in District 18. My child has special needs. We attended an IEP meeting for my 12-year-old last year with myself, various faculty that work with my child in the school, my 12-year-old, and the new case planner for the foster care agency and the foster parent. Parents, regardless of where your child resides, if your rights are intact, you have the legal right in New York City to dismiss any of the parties that you wished to not be in attendance. They do not get to override your decision based on you being covered by the parental rights. So because I've asked this foster parent to dismiss herself, she has never been present any other time. She wasn't present 2 months prior to that when we did the IEP amendment for my other child in the other district. She has never shown up to any other IEP meetings. But just that particular meeting, she showed up to because it was 2 days prior to going to court. Now, We're going to fast forward a little bit. Both of my children take psychotropic medication. Both of my children have been medication non-compliant. My 12-year-old, you know, mostly. Now that we know that she does not ingest the medication properly, the behavior becomes unstable. Because my children have been in this foster parents' home for almost 3 years now, she is still unaware of the behaviors and the decline that happen when the medication is not ingested consistently, properly, and daily. This was a conversation I had with the previous case planning team before they were fired for negligence, one by one. And these people were also unaware that my children had allergies, had asthma, and had certain documentation that needed to be in the school building for them to have these medications in the school building. But because I was getting resistance from this foster care agency, the previous case planning team, and this foster parent, it made it seem like I was being erratic, or I'm going to use the phrase that the children's attorney used, and I quote, she often loses touch with reality and she has a win at all cost attitude, end quote. So if I lose touch from reality, are you guys really in the best interest of my children if I still am able to make decisions for their life? That sounds maniacal and insane all in itself. And at this point, I feel like maybe they need an evaluation. And I really feel like, I should motion for one or petition for one. Because are they using, you know, adequate guardianship or, proper supervision? So now we're going to fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about medical. My children have always had allergies. Anyone that knows us knows these things. But just because these people from the foster care agency told the foster parent that these things were not real, they were negligent medically by not giving my children the proper medications or proper precautions to prevent any dangerous, destructive, or fatal situations. So now, although I may not have any communication with my kids, I am a mom. I am a mom 25/8. I am a mom above anything. And just because, again, I don't have communication does not mean I do not play Carmen Sandiego. I will sleuth it out. I will investigate. And that's the problem. I investigate better than these social workers, or I should say case planners, because, the license makes a big difference and most of them don't have one. So now, because I also am a disabled city healthcare employee, and for those of y'all that know me, I know, you know, where I'm employed at. So based on me having knowledge of the healthcare system and a lot of faculty within, although I cannot communicate or, see my children, these clinicians provide me with the information that the law, the Constitution, and the active court order tells them to. But see, anytime this foster parent or the previous case planning team at HeartShare St. Vincent Services in Brooklyn told them false information or did not confirm the information that allegedly was never investigated, but they can tell me something that they have no leg to stand on, no proof, and no knowledge. But you're telling me about my children. That also is maniacal and insane. So now that we know that my children have allergies, because this foster care agency sent them to an allergist who also declared something different. So when I received that paperwork and my information and the information from the outside allergist that HeartShare St. Vincent Services referred them to, said my children had allergies. So that was kind of brushed under the rug because now they have asthma pumps and EpiPens and the things that they need as far as 504s to take psychotropic medication in school. But there's one discrepancy. Where is the correspondence for these medications? How can you have medication, although it's much needed? Where is the documentation that states that these things are legal? And if you have these things, where did you get the consent from? Because I have not signed anything. I've been begging these people since September 3rd of last year when they kept telling me my children did not have these things or that I was making these things up. But yet, now that these things come to pass, here we are in a new school year. So now the education and the medical have been merged based on them not getting adequate medical care in these school buildings for the second year. I had a conversation with the nurse in District 18, Miss Wilson, who literally disclosed, although I know your child has asthma, she can carry her asthma pump, pause. Whether she can carry her asthma pump or not, from 8 a.m. to 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, PS 115, the Daniel Mucatel School, is responsible to provide adequate supervision during DOE supervisory hours in New York City for K through 12 schools. So she literally stated, my child does not have the documentation that coincide with the medication that she possibly could be carrying around. I believe that's also neglect. Because last year, she met me outside to get this documentation signed. But this year, the year my daughter is graduating, because I will not miss this graduation, trust me, there's too much technology out there. But again, she disclosed that another year, my child does not have the correspondence that coincide with the possible medication that she desperately needs, possibly has, but no documentation is on file. Orange board, I'll be reaching out probably Thursday when everybody comes back to school. So now that leaves us with therapeutic care, mental health services. Now, because my children have special needs, they receive therapeutic intervention at the same facility in two different locations. Prior to this new case planning team coming on, my children were being seen by Interborough Developmental Center, location in Crown Heights, and location in Canarsie, for over a year with no legal consent. Why? Because the foster parent filled out the intake packets and consents. Again, overstepping your level of authority. That's fine because everybody has karma. Everybody has their day. And everyone will receive what they definitely deserve. I really don't understand why the amount of restriction and resistance these other people, such as the children's attorney, the CPS attorney, the foster parent, my ex husband, and this negligent prior and present case planning team, with the exception of the manager. She's the best, but I don't know. She's leaving October 9th. So, usually when these people are, productive and, you know, they actually are empathetic, they either resign because their heart cannot deal with the corruption, or they are transferred to another department, especially when productivity is happening. So now with this negligent authorization by the foster parent, who seems to do a lot of things that a non kinship foster parent in New York City cannot do. So, although my children may call her grandma, she is not. Although it was documented that she is the paternal aunt of my ex husband, wrong. She is his best friend's mom, which makes her a sandbox aunt, you know, somebody you grew up with. That's what we call, you know, play cousins in the urban community. So now that we have the fact that this foster parent has stepped way too far over the privilege of taking care of my kids, because it is a privilege, because you're getting paid. So don't act like this is something that was done out of the goodness of your heart, because if that was the case, you wouldn't have thrown me under the bus when you failed to supervise my children on the visits you left me 10 times unsupervised for, but yet did not speak up for me, acted like I did something to you, and then tried to play like you don't have any knowledge of me. That's fine. I'm a different person these days. And I don't choose to revert back to that person I was, because my children deserve better. That is why I have petitioned for an emergency interstate compact for the placement of my children to go with their maternal aunt. Now, for some reason, again, this foster care agency seems to be under this false impression that this process takes months and months. Negative. These things in New York City take 30 to 45 business days. End of story. If you'd like to know where I found that information, inbox me, because I always have proof. I don't have the luxury of just saying something and them taking my word as credible. But anybody else can say something and I am held responsible. But that's okay. I'll take every hurdle you throw at me, because at the end of the day, I will win the race. I run for everything. And my innocence is definitely, like I said before, worth every ounce of sweat, every drop of blood, every muscle and joint pain daily. Because I am a mom. I am a mom, and that's what title I was given, and I earned it. And nobody gets to take that away from any of us parents because they said something. Parents, learn the system, learn what your rights are, learn what you're entitled to, learn how to make the system that is designed to fail us work for you. If you have a hard time getting information, reach out to me. Reach out to the offices of Attorney Vincent Davis. There is somebody there 24/7 to take your call. That man is amazing, and any advice from him would be well worth it. Trust me. That man saved my life. And I can honestly say that. There were other people that played a part, but that man gave me a platform to allow my voice to pass a message for all of you parents out there. Don't give up. The fight is exhausting. It is overwhelming. It is psychologically destabilizing. It makes you debilitated mentally because these people drag you through a web of unnecessary separation from the most precious and priceless things that we have as parents in this world. In this world, that is the only thing that we have done perfectly is allow our children to breathe life. And we are responsible for that life until there's none. I am a firm believer in mean what you say and say what you mean. And my children will reunite with me. I am sure of it. Based on, you know, the things that I have assisted other families with outside of New York City is, it's just, it makes me feel so appreciated because with other parents, we take each other's word as it is, unless we find something otherwise, because we know the amount of unnecessary frustration and mental whooping that we take. You cannot possibly tell me, as a parent that suffers with mental illness, medical issues, substance abuse history, a domestic violence past. I did have an estrangement from my family, but again, this process has allowed me to start to build those bridges and heal from my hurt so I can be the best parent that I know I can be. And nobody gets to give my children a false perception of me just because they didn't do right, just because they need a check, just because funding needs to stay in a county. You kidnap our children, you traffic them, and then you use greenbacks to justify why these removals to these parents are okay. These parents are exhausted. These parents are losing everything. How do you possibly expect us, and just myself, with all those things I just stated, and I'm still here with you guys because my children don't deserve anything less. So I will say this. I utilize all my support resources, my therapist, my very small circle of friends, the crisis hotline, my attorney, my siblings. Now that, everything is a work in progress, and especially my mom. Once things are unearthed and secrets are spoken into the real, the hurt is able to be healed, especially when it could possibly hinder happiness, your home, your health, and your heart. I love my kids to the moon and back. To the moon and back. I try to occupy my time by informing myself, helping other families, doing this podcast on Mr. Davis's platform because we have to pass the message, parents. Our innocence is worth it. I know I've been driving my circle of friends crazy this last almost 3 years. But I love y'all for being there for me. And although I may not name everybody, you know that you have a special place in my heart if you've been in my home, around my children, or just in my life. And I'm appreciative for all of y'all, regardless of how manic I may be, how many times I repeat myself, what time I may call you. Somebody always picks up. So I have no other option because it's a courtesy and a consideration for me to pay it forward. So, what better way to pay it forward than to educate our demographic, our minority community, our indigent people, our parents? Love yourself, parents, especially in this time. Do not let them win. And I know you're exhausted. I'm right here with you. But you have a friend in me, and I will walk with you on your journey of corruption with CPS. But you have to lead the way. You have to want it. You have to be in it to win it. You can call me for those of y'all that know me, for those of y'all that would like to know me and need some help. If you can't reach Mr. Davis, you can always reach out to me. For some reason, I never really sleep. So, parents, you can call me at any time if you need advice, if you need an ear, if you just need to vent. Sometimes we need that. If you are struggling with something other than just this situation, you can reach out. I will listen. We have lost way too many parents and children to this corrupt ass system. Don't let them win. Remember, united we stand, divided we fall. But we will be alive to fight another day because we have a lot of brothers and sisters that didn't make it. They gave up. It was exhausting and they could not push forward. I don't blame them for that. That just makes my fight all the more necessary. I don't want to get emotional, and I know I have about probably 15 minutes left, but as usual, my message is conveyed. And, parents, as usual, nobody's perfect except our innocence. We get tired, we get overwhelmed, we get triggered, but we love our children. Infinity times infinity. That was for my girls. And I know they're not watching, but they will eventually. I want them to know, regardless of what people say about mommy, she has never lied to y'all. She will always, always tell you the truth, regardless of how good, bad, or indifferent it may be. Because I am your mother, and I didn't raise no cowards. So to my girls, remember what I've been saying to you guys since you were 2 years old. All we have is each other. You are your sister's keeper, and y'all are amazing. I am Miss K, your host of Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform. We are here every Monday. I know it's Tuesday, but every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out to our producer, Grace, or call the number below at the law offices of Attorney Vincent Davis to get a consultation or to be a guest. And we just want you to know, parents, you're not alone. Never give up the fight. Innocence is worth it. Parents, be safe. You have a great night. Grace.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against it, it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last one.